SourceFed Movie Club, it's me Jenny, aka ClassyLibrarian, and this week's movie was Paranorman. And this is a first for me in terms of movie club, that this is a first time viewing, and usually what happens when I watch a film to review is I think of the certain points and certain thoughts that I want to make. I make mental notes while watching the film, and then at the end I compile all my thoughts in my head and then I record a review. And this one is the first time ever that I got so lost in this film and so lost in the story and how well this film is made and how beautiful it is and how emotional it is in points and how funny it is. I got so lost in this film that I got to the end of it and I didn't have any things to say other than that I got lost in it. I had to go back and re-watch this film and make notes for the first time ever because it's just so amazing, this film. I've just ordered it, I'm going to get it on DVD, I can't wait to look at behind the scenes for this. Watching it a second time, I didn't lose anything from it. I still laughed out loud, I still got the emotional pangs in the right place, and I was still just fascinated by how beautiful this film is. I just love that this is a story about perspective and about the fear that every single child has, where they feel lonely, they feel separate, they feel like people don't understand them, and the fear that all adults have, where they feel like they're becoming a nameless mass. They've made mistakes and they can't quite react to situations as well as they might have done when they were children. And there's this just feeling that every single person who watches this film, regardless of age, can get something out of it. Definitely, if I'd watched this as a child, it would have terrified me, honestly, absolutely given me nightmares, but there's such a heart to this film that maybe if I'd watched this when I was like mid-aged teenager, it could have helped with some of the rougher parts of my school life. There's so much about this to do with bullying and about how to react to bullying, and I do actually have a private video which is my response to Trisha Hertzberger's video on bullying, and what I say in that video is pretty much how I coped with bullying is empathy, and you see things from another person's perspective, and that's how I coped. And that's how Norman copes with his bullying, how people don't react to him in a positive way and how he's trying to deal with being different in his own way. And it's empathy, it's understanding what his mother's saying, which is other people react in fear. It's not them reacting vindictively, and they're not deliberately trying to be cruel. That is how they kind of react, and he deals with that through empathy, while Agatha is the other reaction. She's the bullied becomes a bully, and it's so interesting to see both those ways of dealing with bullying and both of those reactions to bullying featured in a film in a positive way. In the end, it's just such a positive, uplifting film. I do love that there are several things, like right at the beginning, if you have watched this film for a second time, there's something that is said by the grandma's character in the first scene, which is the kind of message for the theme, for the film, which is, if they could just talk it out, if they could just understand, then it would be a completely different story. And I love that concept because it's about not judging people by what they do, it's by judging them by who they are and getting to know them and understanding them, and I love that concept. Going into more details, the visuals for this are so beautiful. Just the fact that it's a stop motion film with animation aspects to it builds this very complete world. It's got that classic stop motion thing which is very visceral, it's very real, but then it's got the animation just to make that sparkle, and it's not overdone. You can't really spot where the changes between the digital animation and the claymation style. It's so smooth, and most of this part, there's definitely digital animation put into the stop motion animation because it doesn't feel jittery. It's so smooth, the technology is perfect for this film. It's such a beautiful piece of art, and that's how I can describe this film, because if you look at every single detail in this film, there's details in the costume, details in the hair, details like visually in the background. They've got like things written places, like my other car is a broom when that marketing theme first starts to come in. Things like dust effects and smoke effects, and when they're in that library scene, and every single book and every single bit of paper has been made. It's something that someone has handcrafted that's probably about this size and has to be made and moved millimetre by millimetre, and it just blew my mind how just gorgeous this film is to look at and how much work has gone into it. Just the visuals are just so beautiful, the music is lovely, it's perfect for each sequence. The sequence where Norman's walking to school, and it just gives the perfect emotional feel. I love the Ride of the Valkyries moment with his little friend who just hums it, and I'm like, oh, that's gorgeous. Just the music and the visuals are so gorgeously done. The direction is wonderful. I love like all of the horror stereotypes that come in, like the monster crawling towards frame and looking at the ankles walk past, and just all of those classic stereotype moments, like the hero and then a wall and then a monster in the background, like the 3 layers of perspective, so you get that depth of field. And there's just some beautiful shots, whether or not it's high zooms or like this wonderful shot of the bike at the beginning where Norman walks past. It has such a level of detail and level of depth where you can really see this environment and see how lived in it is, and just get this feel. And there's this beautiful moment, because this film is all about perspectives. There's a beautiful moment where you see him walking, you start with him, Norman, at home, and he's talking to his grandma, and then you realise in a reveal straight away that what he sees as completely normal isn't normal. She's not really there, she's a ghost. And you see it from his perspective where she's a solid thing, and then you see it change. And then you see him walking to school and talking to no one, and you see the perspective of other people, and then it does this beautiful pan round him, and then you see the world that he sees. And then there's another change of perspective where these zombies are terrifying. I would have had nightmares for years watching this. And then there's this wonderful shot where it's a comedy moment involving a vending machine, where it's a high up shot from the perspective of the zombie. And then that's immediately the point where it changes. It goes from being terrifying zombies, and then you get that point where it's a comedy moment, and then you see the perspective change, and it's just jaw-droppingly well done, where you go from being scared of these creatures to understanding that they are human, that they have vices, that they are scared of this new world, and everyone is scared, and they're just reacting out of fear. And it's such a good film, it's so beautiful. The colour palette, as I said, is just the visuals, the colour palette, I've got to point that out, and the lighting, especially the lightning effects towards the end, are so well done. It's just visually intoxicating. There's such a heart to this film. I love the family aspect. I love the fact that the elder sister character is the kind of sister that would punch you in the shoulder for being a numpty, but would still kick someone's ass if they were the one to bully you. She's loyal, and they're so complex characters, which could be these stereotypes. They could be these archetypes of the horror genre, which visually they are to an extent, but then you actually get to know their characters and they're not. And there's a character who, spoiler alert, is homosexual, and it's just subtly put in, and it's so it made me just have this little glow of happiness that it's approached in such a mature 21st century way, that it's just something. It's not comedy, well, it is a comedy moment, but it's not put in so overtly that it just is. And that's what I want to see in films, where characters who are transgender, bi, or feminist, they're just there. It's just part of the landscape, which is what it should be, and it's so subtly and beautifully done. I've made notes for the first time ever because I didn't want to miss anything. I love the references to all the different films. There's The Walking Dead, the kind of burning effect reminded me of Silent Hill whenever he goes into a flashback realm. There's references to Halloween, the quite obvious one. I think there's reference to the Addams Family with the arm crawling on the floor. The Blues Brothers, I know that's not technically a horror thing, but I noticed that one and found it funny. Meddling Kids is of course Scooby-Doo. There's just so much built into this film that I think I can watch this over and over again and not get tired of it. I can't wait for the DVDs to arrive. I'm going to put a link in the description to a little behind the scenes video which I googled just to check whether or not this was stop motion, because it was so wonderfully done that I almost didn't believe that it was. It's just beautiful, and there's some hilarious lines. The hummus line, the just irony of the run over by an animal rescue van, and the smashing a window with a crime prevention sign. It's just beautiful, and I can't recommend this film enough. It may not be for everyone, but I loved it so much. I think this is going a lot higher than Roger Rabbit if it could. And oh, this is such a wonderful film. I'm sorry I rambled on for so long. Comment down below, like, favourite, follow the thing for other reviews. Thank you so much for making me watch this. This is so beautiful. Thank you, Joe. Thank you so much. See you next week. Bye, guys.